Okay, this is a demo video for you, Luke, for your Saberforge Commando, which I've just finished putting together. Figured I would do this to show off some of the features. Here is the full hilt, went with the silver momentary switches in the end, because I thought they contrasted nicely, and they also matched some of the weathering on like the corners of the hilt. Apart from that, everything is black. Looks really nice. Speaker grill down the end, and then you can just about see the Shtok V3 connector in the end for the blade. You've also got your Saberforge blade plug, which is nice. So I'll just pop that in quickly. When putting the blade plug into this one, there's these holes in the top. What I like to do is make sure that it's only plastic showing through the holes, because that way you'll get shine through across the whole thing. So if you let the blade plug just drop in all the way, you'll get a little bit of metal showing in that top vent, which is not really very nice to look at. So I'll just back it off just a touch so it's all plastic. Secures in place with an Allen key. Make sure when securing you only ever use the top grub screw. Do not use the middle grub screw, because the middle one holds the top piece of the chassis in place, which I will go into detail on in just a moment. Secure that in place. That's not coming out. That's the finished thing. And that's pretty much your saber. Yeah, so accessing the chassis is split into 3 parts, but for your purposes it's basically 2 parts. The top half of the chassis holds the 2 switches, the blade connector, and a Shtok rotary PCB connector about here in the hilt. All of that stuff never needs to come out. This middle grub screw, don't ever loosen it. These 2 switches, don't twist them. So don't like jam your finger. They're pretty flush, so I'd be impressed if they did twist, but don't, when you're pushing it, press it in and rotate it with your finger and things like that, because if the switches come loose inside of that upper chassis, it is going to be a nightmare to fix. So try to avoid doing that if possible, otherwise you're going to be in for a world of trouble. Anything you need to access can all be accessed via the lower pommel. You basically just unscrew it all the way out, and then you will reveal this spacer piece in the bottom. I had to print this because the speaker was pushing up against the grill in the bottom of the hilt, and it makes this awful rattling sound if anything is touching the drum. So this little separate piece basically pushes the chassis up further into the hilt and also prevents the speaker from contacting that lower piece. To remove the chassis, don't go digging around with your fingers and pulling, because there's a chance you could pull off this lower piece because it is just glued onto the speaker. Just tilt the chassis and give it a little tap with your hand, and hopefully it will start to come loose, and then it'll just slide out. It's not particularly snug in there. The main thing that holds this chassis in when you're swinging it around all over the place is the pommel, so getting it in and out shouldn't be a problem. You can see there's plenty of room to spin and all sorts. I deliberately left it quite loose because the dimensions of this one, it gets quite snug up here, so that's the main way it would fit basically. Slide the whole chassis out. This is it. Let's put that to one side. You've got your Proffi 2.2 board, which is currently not glued down while I'm just finishing up the config. I am conscious that you want to change some of the things on the Proffi yourself, or you want to play around with it, so I will try and glue it with as minimal amount of glue as possible. I may just even hot glue it, because then it will just pop right out if you get a pair of tweezers or something under there. That's fine. Kill switch up here. This is the battery compartment where the battery goes. That's your Shtok rotary connector. This makes contact with some pins inside the chassis, and that's what allows everything to connect up there. And then obviously down at the bottom, you've got a 28mm KRSabers bass speaker with the plastic spacer piece at the bottom. Pretty nice chassis. Designed by myself. Oh, help if I didn't drop it. Designed by myself. A few little Star Warsy things. KRSabers in Orabesh up top. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just going to pop this Proffieboard down so it doesn't slip out at all, and bring back some of the light, which I've just lost. There we go. I think it's time we chuck a battery in this and do some testing. So, chrome wrapped battery for you. Positive end is at the top near the kill switch. Negative end, which is the flat side, down at the bottom on the spring. This one's easy to insert positive first, so up top, and then click it in. Oh, give it a bit. There we go. The battery is quite snug in there. If you ever find well, when you recharge it, you will need to get the battery out. The best way to do that is probably just tip it down and then tap it into your hand, and the battery will just come right out. Don't try and jam your fingers down the side. Don't poke anything down there and try and flick it out, because that's going to end badly. So again, putting the battery in, positive side first, positive up top, flat negative side down the bottom, and click, done. Yeah, I think we're ready to go. So I will flip the kill switch, which is located up here, power it on. Syndicate Custom Relics, which is the maker of the Retribution font, which you paid for. All the others are free Kyberphonic fonts or Greyscale fonts, I think they're called. Greysith, can't remember off the top of my head, but those are fantastic fonts, and we'll show those in a second. The whole chassis slides into the bottom of the hilt. Obviously PCB side first, otherwise it's not going to work. Slide it all the way down. When pushing this in, you can push against the plastic. Don't shove your finger in and push against the speaker, because there's a chance you could perforate the drum, and if you break the drum, then the speaker will break, so don't do that. Just apply nice gentle pressure, and it'll go all the way in. And when you get it down to the bottom, kind of when it makes contact with the lower piece inside the chassis in here, you'll feel the springiness. That's a good point to stop pushing with your finger, basically. If you start to feel it, a little bit of springy give, that's it making contact with the spring-loaded pins inside, so that's a good place to stop pushing. The rest of it we will drive home with the pommel. So you start screwing the pommel on. I have deliberately made the chassis slightly too long for this hilt, because the alignment of the grooves at the bottom of your hilt was off, and it was bugging me. So I made the chassis, sorry, a little bit longer, so that when you screw the pommel in, it'll get very snug very quickly around there, but you can see our alignment is still off, and it looks all out of whack with the rest of the saber. So basically you just keep twisting until the grooves align. So this CoverTech knob has 2 grooves either side of it. I'm trying to find a good way to show this. And you just keep turning until the grooves align. It'll feel tight, it'll feel like you're breaking something. I promise you're not. You're just pushing up against the plastic, pushing the 2 chassis pieces into one another. So twist, 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 twist until they align. Maybe a bit more. Ever so gentle. That's pretty much it. There you go. Fully complete, powered on, so let's give it a go. Auxiliary is your lower button for ease of reach, and the power is the top button. Let's change to a simple font to start with. Blue, there we go. So this is one of the free Kyber's Workshop fonts from Kyberphonic. In this case, it's the blue one. There are 3 on there, red, green, and blue. And then you've got a bunch of the grey fonts, which are really fantastic sounding free fonts. And then you've also got your Retribution, which I'll show you at the end, which is the one you paid for. So this is the Kyberphonic Kyber's Workshop blue. Saber is incredibly loud, very, very bright. Lights up the grills nicely. Lights up the blade plug really nicely. Flash on clash. Click the lower button for blaster fire. And then power off. That's pretty much all we can show without a blade in. You do have some gesture controls, which I put in. The main ones being twist to activate, so that's twist on and twist off. Give it a short, sharp. And away you go. And again. And all of that is customizable in the Proffi config, so if you decide you don't like that, you can get rid of it. Let's now try one of the grey fonts. There we go. I think this is the Noble font, I believe. This one's fantastic. Sounds incredible. And with that 28mm speaker, it is loud, it is scary, really, really good. Tried to fit it as big a speaker as I possibly could in this one. So those are some of the basic fonts. Let's now chuck your blade in. It is a 7/8 inch blade. It is not a 1 inch blade, because this hilt is too tight for that. And you don't want to break anything, so just back off on that top grub screw only. Slide out the blade plug. Grab your 32-inch blade. When you're popping this blade in, you'll feel it make contact with the pins, and it's kind of springy. Basically, hold it down so that you know it's making good contact with the springs and it's compressing them, and then tighten up the grub screw. You don't need to tighten it up a huge amount, just enough so that it feels snug, like that. And the blade's not going to go anywhere, be flying around all over the place. Let's now try your retribution font, which is kind of the main font on this saber. Retribution. There we go. The way I was cycling through the fonts there, in case you don't know, is the lower button, which is auxiliary. If you're holding the saber upright, it'll cycle through the fonts forwards. If you hold the saber upside down, it'll cycle through them backwards. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, this is retribution. It comes with a pre-on, so that means that there'll be a dialogue line that plays, and then the saber will ignite. Some of the pre-ons are blank though, so it can just burst on straight away, which is pretty cool. So I designed the blade effect on this one myself, tried to match it to the sound as best I could. Hope you like it. This is Retribution.
Give in to the darkness.
Flash on flash. Very bright, very loud. If you double click power, you'll ignite the saber without any audio. Like that, so I can just run through some features with you. It's got the standard FET263 button config, which has got a few extra little features included. If you press and hold the auxiliary button and click power, you'll enter a color change wheel, and to activate that, once you're in it, you just twist the saber, and it will click through until you find a color you like. So let's go with maybe orange, sure, and you click the power button to confirm, and then it will lock in that color. Pretty nice. If you press and hold the power button and click auxiliary, you'll enter force lightning block up, which the whole blade kind of strobes white. Click and hold the auxiliary button and you'll enter blaster deflect mode, which means every time you swing it you'll get a blaster block, which is a flash of white and a blaster sound effect, and then you can click power to turn off. Some really nice fade down animations there. Some other features that come with the FET263 button config is a battery indicator. So if you press and hold auxiliary and you click power, it will tell you how much battery is in the saber.
Battery level 52%.
52%. That's low
battery.
Low battery. There we go. That's not actually true. When it's very low battery, the battery level will be all over the place. I think this is actually about 10% battery, something like that.
Battery level 9%.
9%. There we go. That's more like it. And then if you click and hold the top button and click auxiliary,
Enter volume menu.
you'll enter a
Low
volume.
battery.
You'll enter a volume menu, and when you're in the volume menu, you twist to change the volume. So you can twist it all the way down, and then click power to confirm.
Volume menu end.
And that's confirmed the new volume level.
Give in to the darkness.
There we go, a bit quieter now. It's still plenty loud. Power that one off. And I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions about the Proffi config, do let me know. I can run through things with you. Really excellent saber to put together. Really good fun building it. I hope you're happy with it. Any questions, let me know. Any changes, give me a shout. But apart from that, hope you're happy with it, and hope to work with you again. Thanks.